Howdy do folks, I'm super excited to be here and we are talking about VS Code Power User workflows. I'm excited about this talk because I'm going to cover a lot of ground here in the next 1 hour, so I hope so you're excited as much as I am. For those of you who don't know me, I am Ahmad Awais. I am a full-time open sourcer. I love the open source software community and I'm a JavaScript developer advocate as well. I spent over 10 years with WordPress community. I have contributed to all sorts of things like default WordPress theme, customized component, the Gutenberg editor. I've built WP Gulp and Create Guten blog. Maybe you already use one or two of my open source software. I'm a Google developers expert, and I've recently been serving on the community committee of the Node.js Foundation to make Node.js more accessible for the next billion users. And it is beyond me that about 1.5 million developers use my open source code, and about 500,000 websites run that. So it's just amazing. It is the power of open source software, I think. And at the core of my heart, I'm an engineer. But you know what? Crash that. I'm an emojineer. I love emojis. And the best place to find me or to connect with me is my Twitter account, Mr. Ahmad Awais. Should go ahead and follow me there because I use my Twitter account as a mini blog. I tweet daily and I tweet all sorts of things, developer jokes and whatnot. If you see the fire emoji in my tweets, probably that is going to be a hot development tip. And you can also find me on GitHub, my website, ahmadawais.com, or subscribe to my newsletter called Developers Takeaway. And if you follow me on Twitter, it would be super califragilistic, expialidocious. I said it right for once. Okay, let's move on. I launched this course called VS Code Power User. In this course, you'll find about like 70 videos, and I have documented all of my personal VS Code Power User workflow inside of it. I've talked about JavaScript, Go, PHP, CSS, and all of those goodies and tasty treats. So what happened was, in 2017, I was working with these giant big software firms from Google to Facebook to Amazon, and software developers that I have a huge respect. They were using VS Code. So I thought there must be something really good about this editor since it is a Microsoft product and engineers at other companies are using it. That was odd back then. Now Microsoft is this huge open source company, but back then it was not like that. So I switched to VS Code to see how it is. Turns out it is a JavaScript based code editor. So I was able to contribute to the core software of my editor, which was amazing, by the way. Since we are web developers, we tend to have this, trend among us to change things and don't like them how they are. And that serves you well when you are using an open source code editor, which is actually built with the languages, with the web technologies that you have some command on. So that was one of the most exciting things about VS Code. But more than that, Microsoft has been adamant on improving VS Code every single month. Their entire workflow and the timeline for their open source releases and everything is entire open source. You can just go ahead and see and contribute to this awesome piece of editor. About 6,000 developers have already switched to VS Code by learning my personal workflow through this course. And if you're interested, you can go ahead and sign up for the masterclass at the link at the bottom there. Last year, when I was on WordSesh talking about different kind of developer tooling workflows, I had just announced a theme for VS Code called Shades of Purple. Less did I know that it would become a viral theme where about 1.3 million developers would be using it. And all of these awesome developers actually have helped me build an entire suite of Shades of Purple themes. You can now get a Shades of Purple theme for VS Code, Item2, Hyper, Slack, Alfred, Console, Segwin, you name it. And there is a theme for Shades of Purple for that particular software. I was just reading a tweet that a guy has actually ported my theme to Vim as well. Or you could use it on your website like Scotchio does. It uses Prism CSS to include Shades of Purple inside all of their posts. So it's an amazing theme. And it is built around this amazing idea that different programming languages should have consistent colors. For example, if there is a variable in PHP, in Go language, in JavaScript, or wherever, it should have a similar consistent coloring. If you start using this particular theme, it is not only accessible, easy on your eyes, but like in a month or so, you will start picking up on things inside of your own code just because of the consistent colors. And all of a sudden, if you write something wrong, that would turn red and it would alert you that some funny business is going on there. So go ahead and try out the Shades of Purple theme. I built it because I love the purple color. I think purple can be genius. Okay, enough with the introduction. Let's move on to the exciting part of this talk, VS Code Power User workflows ahead. So what I've done here is I have picked out 7 different videos from my VSCode.pro, VS Code Power User course, and I've included them inside of this talk, and we are going to review all of that. I'm going to teach you some VS Code basics, some user interface know-how. We're going to play with the command palette, and I'm going to talk about Keymaps as well. That can help you switch today and bring your own shortcuts or snippets from your own editor right inside of the VS Code editor. After that, very fun videos about file handling and file editing yoga, where I'm going to talk about all of those multi-cursor thingies that you see all of these advanced developers use and how you can manipulate with the text in a very good way. There are like 14 different methods in there. Many of you already know that I love Markdown. I use Markdown in my blogs to build my websites and whatnot. Even the slides that you are looking at right now, this right here is a exploding head emoji, and all of this is Markdown. Yes, I write my talks in Markdown as well. And I'm going to teach you about how I do that, how customize of a Markdown workflow I have inside of VS Code. So how about we get started? Let's jump in. Visual Studio Code, as you might already know, does not share any of its lineage with Visual Studio. It's a completely new editor, it's completely redefined, it's free, it's open source, and it runs everywhere. Since it's open source, being an open source developer, I was able to contribute to the core software of this open source editor, which is fantastic. While I'm gonna be teaching you this course on a Mac, you can easily click here and download the stable version for Windows or Linux. There's also an insider version. For example, if you click here, basically the VS Code Insider's version gets the latest release each day. It is only meant for early adopters to test the functionality, and I would not recommend you to use this for writing code. Visual Studio Code, which is also called VS Code or simply Code, actually came out of this Monaco editor. The Monaco editor is the code editor that powers VS Code. You can actually install it with npm anywhere you want. For example, here's the Monaco editor using my Shades of Purple theme right inside of my Chrome browser. It also contains the def editor, as you can see here, which is pretty impressive. So go ahead and download Visual Studio Code. First time you open Visual Studio Code, you will meet the welcome screen. Before going into the details here, let's explore the user interface first. As compared to many IDEs out there, Visual Studio Code comes with a very minimal interface, and it is one of those things that I really like about it. Let's explore what this interface is made up of. On the left side here, you will find an activity bar with a bunch of icons in it. This activity bar helps you switch between different views and gives you context-specific indicators. Inside here, you will find the Explorer, where you can explore all the files of your project. You can find, search, replace anything throughout your project. For example, stack, and there you can see the package.json and stack.js files have the word stack in them. Then there is the source control view, where you can see the changes. After that, there is the debugger. You can set up the configurations here. And finally, you can check out the extensions marketplace here with over 4,000 extensions for VS Code right now. So this thing right here is what we call the sidebar. You can press Command or Control plus B to toggle the sidebar. This area right here is what we call the editor group. It is actually the editor where you write your code. You can also press Control tilde to view a panel which has the terminal, the debug console, output, and it also has this problems panel where you can see if there are any problems inside your code. A linter could report these problems or whatnot. You can also find the information about your open project in the files you're editing in this area right below here, which is called the status bar. For example, right now, I am editing a JavaScript file. Finally, on the far left is the activity bar. On the bottom is the status bar. This is the editor group. And below the editor group, you can find different panels. You can also move these panels to the vertical area here or at the bottom, whichever is your cup of tea. Well, the default theme that comes with Visual Studio Code is good enough, but if you are a power user like me, you'd want to change it, you want to hack it around, have some sort of a custom build workflow around it. You are in luck today because I have just released this new theme called Shades of Purple. Let's go ahead and install it and then I'll explain to you why I really like it. So I'm going to press Command Shift X to go to my extensions, remove everything there, search for Shades of Purple. There you have it, and then let's click install. Well, I happen to be a big fan of purple color. I think so purple can be genius. And looks like it's already installed. And let's click reload. Well, what should have happened here is that Visual Studio Code should have applied the theme that I just recently installed. But it looks like that we have to actually go to this gear icon, click on color theme, select the shades of purple as our default theme. And voila, our theme is there. So I have done a lot of things with this Visual Studio Code theme called Shades of Purple. And for example, one thing that I can show you right off the bat is the Markdown syntax. While it is really easy to learn Markdown syntax, you can do it like in a week, but I don't want this syntax to be very prominent to me because I do a lot of my writings in my Visual Studio Code and I want this syntax to be as hidden as it could be. For example, if you see that I'm trying to bold this word, the syntax around it is kind of a hidden syntax. It is more prominent when you're writing code and you have these backticks with the name of a language around it, and they don't really look very well in other themes. But what I have done is I have chosen a dull color for these punctuations for Markdown, and it looks really well. Only the things that really matter stand out. For example, let's go to the old theme we had. I think it was the dog Visual Studio, and take a look at this. Now this looks messy. There's a lot of syntax which shouldn't be meddling around with our code. But as soon as we move away from this theme to Shades of Purple, you can see that syntax that does not matter to our writing kind of goes away. While it's really minimal, I think most of the developers have looked at it as a welcoming change. And there are a lot of things. The CSS syntax is pretty cool here. Borrowed a lot of syntax here from the famous Cobalt themes and the Pale Knight themes. And then I customized how React and JavaScript looks in this theme, and also PHP because I am of course a WordPress code developer. So there you have it, folks. Have at it. Go ahead to your extensions area, search for Shades of Purple and install this theme and then select it from here. VS Code is equally accessible from the keyboard. One of the most important keyboard shortcuts you're gonna wanna know is Command Shift P. A control on Windows. You can also find it written here when you have no file open. Let's go ahead and press it. Command Shift P. This is what we call a command palette. You can find all of these commands that you can run from VS Code right here. For example, let's say I want to open the settings area for VS Code. I'm gonna type settings. And there you go. And it can also do a fuzzy search. For example, remember when we changed this VS Code theme and we opened a color theme panel? So I can do C theme, and there you go. Preferences, color theme. So again, Command Shift P, and there you have it. There's a lot more you can do with this command palette. I'm gonna save it for another video. Right now, remember the most important keyboard shortcut in VS Code is Command Shift P. I switched from Sublime Text to Visual Studio Code, and the first thing I did was install a keymap. Press Command Shift P to open command palette and search for keymaps. Here you can find a bunch of keymaps. While I'm interested in the Sublime Text keymap, you might be interested in the one from Vim, Atom, or Notepad++. I'm going to install this keymap. So Microsoft has built this Sublime Text keymap and about 500,000 users are using it. This keymap is actually going to map the keyboard shortcuts in Visual Studio Code in accordance with the keyboard shortcuts I had in Sublime Text. So it is going to make it really fun for me to switch from Sublime Text to Visual Studio Code. So click install and then press reload. You can actually see what this Sublime Text keymap contributes. It contributes a lot of keyboard shortcuts, which you already have built a muscle memory for while using Sublime Text. So right off the bat, after installing Sublime Text keymap, I was quite productive in Visual Studio Code after switching from Sublime Text. A couple of years ago, just like you, I was trying to learn all these Power User workflows. Today is your lucky day because I'm going to teach you how to deal with lines, how to juggle with words, and how to do those multi-cursors thingy, if you know what I mean. Anyway, before we start, I need to tell you that I'm using macOS, and when I say command, that should be control on Windows or Linux or other OS. And similarly, when I say option, you should know that I mean alt on other OS. Let's begin with our first power user workflow. First thing first, our current workflow is line iteration. Let's say my cursor is here and I want to go here. I have seen developers press the right key and hold it till they get to the end. That is no way to live your life. You need to use the command or control key. See, when you press and hold command and then press the right key, it jumps the cursor to the end of the line. Similarly, when you press and hold command and press the left key, you're at the start of line. That is pretty cool, ain't it? The next thing you do is how do you go word by word, making your cursor go after each word. Let's say you want to add something here. What I would do here is I would press Alt and then right. See how it is jumping the cursor after each word. And when I'm pressing the left key, it's moving backwards. So let's say I want to say something like Power Pro, and then I go back and then I delete it. Okay, that makes sense? Now, what if you need to select while you are iterating over this line? Well, for that, you can add shift to the mix. For example, press and hold command along with shift, and when I press the left key, all of that line gets selected. And similarly, when I press and hold alt and shift and start moving to the right, I'm selecting each word one by one, and I can go back by the left. That's pretty cool. Now let's move to our second workflow. Our current workflow is how you can delete a line. I've seen people select all the line and then press delete. That is no way to live your life. What you can do instead is your cursor could be anywhere. Let's say in the middle of the line here. All you have to do is press Command Shift and K, and boom, the line is gone. Command Z, and let's delete the first line. Command Shift K. Gone. It's not in your clipboard or anything. You don't have to do cut over the line or anything. Just Command Shift K and it's gone. The next workflow here is how can we duplicate a line? Well, this is a fun one. Maybe you are writing a JavaScript object and you need to duplicate the key value pairs. What you need to do is, you see your cursor could be anywhere in the middle of the line. All you have to do is press Alt, Shift and down. Duplicate this line down that line, or you can also duplicate this line above that line. If I press Alt, Shift and up, the line that gets added is above this line. This next workflow is very simple, but I've seen developers who don't know how easy it is to cut, copy, paste a line in Visual Studio Code. You can have your cursor at any place. You don't need to be at the end of the line or at the start of the line. Your cursor could be placed here and you would just press Command X and then line will get cut. Or you can press Command C to copy this line, go to another line and then just press Command V. There you have it. One more thing that I'd see developers doing wrong is they feel the need that they need to move to the start of the line. They are going to paste a line. That is not true. For example, I was here, I pressed Command C. Now I can be here in the first line, and when I press Command V, you see the first line becomes the second line and the first line moves down. I don't need to be at the start of a line. So I'm here, press Command V. I'm at the end of the line, press Command V. See? That's simple. Let's see how easy it is to move a line up and down. For that, my cursor is in the third line here. I'm going to press and hold Command and Control. And when I press up, my line, the entire line will go up, 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 and then down, down, down. See? Press and hold Command and Control, and then up and down keys are here to serve you. Sometimes what you need to do is you need to select the next occurrence of a similar word. For example, you see there is this user's word here, and what I need to do is I need to change the first two words, the first two users. So what I'm going to do is my cursor could be anywhere inside or at the end of this user's word, and I'm going to press Command D, and this user word will get selected. And when I press Command D again, the very next iteration of that user's word will get selected. Command D again, and there you have it. And let's change it to something like user. What if you want to select all occurrences of a word? For example, here's this user word. I want to select all of these users' words and change them to something else. For example, customers. Make sure your cursor is around or inside a particular word that you are about to change. Now press Command Control and G, and all of those words that are users in this current file will get selected. Now we can change them to, let's say, leads. See how easy is that? Let's learn how to move your selection to the next same word. For example, I have selected this word students, but really what I want is to be able to select the very next students word in the entire file of code. There could be a bunch of code here between this and this. So let's select this students word. Now what I need is to select this one, the second one. Okay. So I have already selected the student word. What I can do is I can press Command K and Command D, and it will select the very next word, students. Similarly, Command K, Command D. Now my selection is here. See? Command K, Command D. That's pretty cool. Now let's talk about one of my favorite workflows, the multi-cursor workflows. We are going to be using the mouse or keypad for this multi-cursor workflow. Let's say you want to change all of these background colors to one single similar color. What you can do is you can press and hold Command and then click wherever you want. See, my cursor is growing in size, and now I can select it and make it white or whatnot. Again, press and hold Command and then click. See, now all these areas are editable. I can also drag a multi-cursor. For that, I need to press and hold Command and Shift. For example, let's say I want 3 cursors, here, here, and here. So let's put our cursor here, press and hold Command and Shift, and now drag this cursor down here. Now I have these 3 cursors. I can do it in a much larger way as well. For example, let's put our cursor here, press and hold Command and Shift, and drag it down to here. See how many cursors we have? 1 cursor for every line from 7 to 20. What if you want to create a multi-cursor with keyboard without even using a mouse or keypad? Well, you can do that very easily. For example, let's again do the same thing here. Change the background colors of all these buttons to white or tomato. I'm going to press and hold Command and Alt, and then I'm going to press the down key. Now I can select them and tomato here. Tomato is a real color. Now I can press Escape to escape out of these multi-cursors. Similarly, I can go up as well. Press and hold Command and Alt and press the up button. There you go. That's pretty cool. And now let's do the multi-cursor selection thing with just keyboard. What I want is 3 cursors here, here, and here. I'm going to use keyboard only to do this. So I pressed Shift and then down, down, down to select these 3 lines. Now I'm going to press Command, Shift, and L. And boom, there are these 3 cursors that we needed. Let me do this again. Shift and down to select these lines. And now Command, Shift, and L. There you go. We have as many cursors as we want. Let's select all of this file with Command A, and Command Shift L will put cursors after every single line. That's pretty cool. So the last one here is how to undo the last cursor. Imagine you wanted to change these colors. You pressed Command and Alt and then down, 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 and there is this extra cursor that you didn't need. Press Command U and it will undo the last cursor action. Command U, Command U. Similarly, if you were going up, din, 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 Command U, Command U. Command U will just undo the last action of your cursor. It's also true for your mouse and keypad. Click here, select Command and Shift, and then drag it out here. We didn't need this last one. So I'm going to press Command U, and there, it's gone. And that's about it. I hope you enjoyed my talk today and learned a bit about VS Code and some Power User workflows. I have already gone ahead and tweeted the link out for this particular video. So go ahead and follow me on Twitter and find that link so you can watch this video later. And if you would like to have more insights into my Power User VS Code workflow, you can go ahead and sign up for my course. And if you have any questions about this talk, go ahead and ask them. And I think that's pretty much about it.